little bit of a problem.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be going through every book on my physical TBR. Now I thought this would be great for the beginning of the year to go through, pull off every single book that I have not read off of my bookshelves, go through them, and at the end of the year we can sit down, kind of go through all of them and see what books I have or have not read. Today, like I said, we're going to be pulling every physical book off my TBR, kind of going through them, kind of doing like a rough estimate on how long they've been on my TBR, how short they've been on my TBR, and kind of just maybe why I haven't picked it up yet. A lot of these books I've started and I've read like the first couple chapters and I just have not finished them. So yeah, so we're gonna go through all of those books here today, kind of so that way we can do a reflection at the end of the year. We'll sit down together, watch this video together, and decide whether or not I have or have not read it. Because one of my main goals in 2024 is to shrink down my physical TBR by 50%. But this TBR, if I have more books on my TBR by the end of the year, I don't know. We'll try to figure it out. But yeah, so let's get started. Let's start by pulling all the books off and creating piles. So. Alrighty, so now we are going to sit down and kind of go through every book on my physical TBR, and I may probably do like a brief explanation on why this book has been on my TBR and kind of how long it's been on my TBR. So let's get started. So the first stack of books that we're going to start with is books that have been on my TBR for the shortest amount of time, books that I just got like last year, books that haven't really been on my radar for that long. So let's get into it. First, we have Stephen King, 11/22/63. This was actually a book that I did start. I got about 18% through, and then I just stopped because I started this book. It was like one of the first books that kind of spiraled me into a book slump last year. So that's the first one. Tomorrow. This book has been on my TBR since the beginning of 2023. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Anxious People by Frederick Bagman. I've only read one of his books, and it was like, okay. I read A Man Called Ove, so yeah, just haven't gotten to it yet. Next is the first 5 books in the Throne of Glass series, Assassin's Blade all the way through Queen of Shadows. These books I actually just recently bought. This is what some of the books I got with like Christmas presents and stuff like that. So these have only been on my TBR for not even a month yet. Another series that hasn't been on my physical TBR for a while is the Natural series. This is the first 2 books, The Naturals and Killer Instincts by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Again, I just bought these right after Christmas of 2023. Next is a book that has been on my TBR for a while, and that is Fourth Wing. I have Fourth Wing and I have Iron Flame. Fourth Wing was on my TBR when it came out. A lot of what the reviews I were getting was that it was good, but it was very much so a beginner fantasy. And I've read some very long and complicated fantasy books. So this one has just kind of not been too intriguing for me to read it. And Iron Flame, I actually got this as a Christmas gift from my partner's mom. So shout out to her. She got this for me for Christmas. So I think those 2 books I definitely want to read this year. Moving on to books that have kind of is in like the middle category of how long they've been on my TBR. So I have Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves. This is a duology. They've been on my bookshelf for a while. Dance of Thieves I actually got as a gift, and I've had it for a while. It's a little torn up a bit, but I read like the first 3 pages, but I think when I started this, I wasn't in the mood for a fantasy. But I've heard great things about this duology. Next, I have the Ravens and the Monarchs. This is a duology, I believe. Yeah, it's the duology. It's kind of like witches, like sorority-esque. That's pretty much all I know about it. I actually got this because a Barnes & Noble that was near me was actually closing down. So I got those books. Next is The Secrets of Dumbledore, the screenplay. So I actually pre-ordered this and I got this book, and I have not heard a single thing about this book. Not a single thing. I haven't seen a review. I haven't seen anything about this book. I just have not read it. Next is Divine Rivals. This book just got on my TBR at the beginning of December. And Ruthless Vows is technically also on here. I just don't have the physical book. I've heard wonderful things about it. It just hasn't been on my TBR for too long. Next is the Inheritance Game series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. These are the first 2 books. It goes the Inheritance Games and then the Hawthorne Legacy. So technically it goes like that. Again, have not read them. My dorm mate, my freshman year of college, she actually was obsessed with this series, but I think just the way she described it to me, it just didn't sound intriguing. Next is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I have read the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. I have not read this one. I've heard that this one isn't as good as Once Upon a Broken Heart. I know Jax, the main guy in Once Upon a Broken Heart, is in the 2nd book of this, I believe. Now we are moving to books that have been on my physical TBR for so long. I'm actually surprised I still have them on my bookshelf. Number 1 is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I've actually heard good things about this book. It is a sci-fi book, and I don't have a whole lot of sci-fi books on my shelf or that I read, so I feel like I just have to wait until I'm in the mood for a sci-fi. Stephen King, The Outsider. I actually started this book. I got like 30% through this book, and then I just never picked it up again. It wasn't because it was bad or anything. I love Stephen King's writing, but it just wasn't what I was in the mood for at the time. And it's this show. I have not seen the show. The Silent Patient. This book, I've heard incredible things about it. I just haven't taken the time to read it. I've heard that it's like really freaky, so I feel like I'm just waiting to be in the mood for like a thriller. Next is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I am not a huge rom-com person, but I've heard incredible things about this book. Read it. I tried reading it once, and I just, again, wasn't in the mood for it. That's very much so a common theme with all the books, is a lot of them I've started, I just was not in the mood for them at that time. Now we're probably getting into the series that has been on my TBR for the longest time, and that is the Eddie Flynn series by Steve Kavanaugh. So not all of these books are in the series. This one is a separate book. This one's The Devil's Advocate. But this is a like thriller mystery series. This has been on my TBR for, I want to say 3 years now. I don't know what it's about. I have no idea what it is about. It was a gift. I can't tell you. I just know that it has a lot of good like things. Like this one is 13. It says the serial killer isn't on trial. He's on the jury. So this is 13. This is The Liar. It takes one to catch one. 50-50. 2 sisters on trial for murder. They accuse each other. Who do you believe? This one is The Plea. His client is innocent. His wife is guilty. The Defense. This is Win the Trial or Lose His Life. This is Twisted. Never let murder get in the way of a good story. They all sound like really good. but I have not read them. I definitely want to read them this year because they've been on my TBR for so long and I don't want to let them get to the 4-year mark. And then the last books on my physical TBR that have been on here for a very long time is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. So we have Good Girl's Guide to Murder, Good Girl, Bad Blood, and As Good as Dead. And I know there's a TV show coming, and the TV show looks so good, and I want to read it. I just have not. I'm very thankful that I haven't had any spoilers from A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Again, where it's like a YA kind of thriller / mystery, it's not something that I'm not normally into YA thrillers, but I've heard so much about this that I feel like I can't not read it. I don't know, but hopefully the books that have been sitting on my TBR for the longest time get off my TBR this year. That is like my biggest resolution kind of goals. Let me count how many books are actually on my physical TBR, like in these piles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 35 books on my physical TBR, which it's not awful, so I would gladly take that. But I want to get these books off of my TBR so that way I can buy more books and read those ones. So yeah, so let's put these back. Alrighty guys, so that is all 35 books on my physical TBR. My bookshelves look a lot less empty after I put all the books back where they belong. But anyway guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff that every YouTuber tells you to do. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.